That down. Let's move on to this, shall we? Well, Indiana Jones and the Wheel of Time came out and is one of the greatest cinematic classics in history.
It's true.
Not really, and it didn't do all that great. I did think it was better than Crystal Skull, but that's just me. Doesn't
you mean Dial of Destiny?
What I call Wheel of Time?
Wheel of Time.
Oh, that's the show. Yeah, I can't even remember the name of the movie.
I thought you were talking about the video game. I'm
That's
like, wait, what?
How little this thing has meant to me. The Dial of Destiny came and went, did not do well at the box office. Again, I still thought it was a little bit better than Crystal Skull, but it was not worthy of the name Indiana Jones. Well, we know that Harrison Ford's done. He's not going to be playing Indiana Jones anymore. But don't think for a second that means Indiana Jones is done. As new reports are coming out, kind of just echoing what we've all known and what we all suspect, that Indiana Jones, Disney rumored to be looking at and developing a reboot. Now, the way the story goes is that Disney is wanting to implement what they're calling, quote unquote, a cooling off period. Like, hey, we just had the last Harrison Ford one. Let's not rush out and just all of a sudden have a brand new Indiana Jones. Let's give it, I don't know, 3, 5, 7 years. I don't think it'll be 10, but let's give it a few years. Let's give it a cooling off period, and then let's relaunch Indiana Jones. I have a couple of thoughts on that, but the predominant one is, of course you do. This is a valuable, classic, recognizable, and for the most part, successful IP. And at some point, it's time for Harrison Ford to hand over the fedora and the bullwhip. And it's time for somebody else to be Indiana Jones.
Paul Walter Hauser.
Paul Walter Hauser is the obvious choice. Take this back, get us back to Indiana Jones fighting Nazis, searching for relics, the adventure. Get back to the adventure of Indiana Jones. And again, and before anybody starts saying, only Harrison Ford can be Indiana Jones, motherfucker, he wasn't even supposed to be Indiana Jones. It was supposed to be Tom Selleck. So don't go, no, it wasn't even going to be him. He was the fallback choice to play it. And he was iconic and awesome and everything in it. He's Harrison Ford and Indiana Jones. But I mean, at some point, it will be time to let somebody else pick up the whip and give it a shot. Like they do with Bond, like they do with Batman, like they do with all these other iconic characters. It'll be time for somebody else. Now, will it work? Well, I don't know. It may work, it may not work, but it would be borderline. What's the best word I'm looking for? When you're found guilty of something from just not doing what you're supposed to do.
Popular opinion?
Negligence.
Oh, negligence, yeah.
It would be the height of corporate negligence to not at least take another swing at it and trying to relaunch this franchise. And then again, it'll all depend on who's directing it, who's starring in it, who's writing it. Do you make great adventures? Do you all that kind of stuff? Do you make it good? Do you make it bad? These are all questions we can address later. But the fundamental question of, should they relaunch Indiana Jones? There's no world that you can convince me that the answer to that is no. Of course you'd give it a shot. And maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. Guys, we want to take a second to thank a sponsor of this video, Stitch Fix. Let's be honest, shopping is not my thing. I've wasted way too much of my time either in stores or scrolling for clothes, only to end up with stuff that doesn't fit or just, doesn't work. See, that's why I use Stitch Fix. You take a quick style quiz, your size, your vibe, your budget, and boom, you're paired with a real human stylist who curates pieces just for you. They send you a fix box with clothes actually fit for your life. Stuff you'll wear to work, on weekends, or wherever. It saves me time, helps me look great, and I never have to step foot in a store. You try everything on at home, keep what works, and send back the rest. Free shipping and returns, no subscription required. Oh, and your first fix? The try-on is totally free. So if you're tired of the endless shopping grind, this is your sign to try Stitch Fix. Seriously, it's style without the stress. Head to stitchfix.com/Campea to get $20 off your first order, and they'll waive your styling fee. That's stitchfix.com/Campea. And I do think the idea of giving it a cooling off period is a good idea, because I think one of the reasons, not the only one, not even the primary one, but Rob, I think one of the reasons that Solo didn't do well at the box office, which by the way, I think you and I both think is a fun movie.
I like it.
It's a fun movie, right? But one of the reasons it did not do well at the box office, and I think one of the reasons it didn't do well at the box office is we literally just saw Harrison Ford as Han Solo again.
Yeah.
Like a year earlier, and now we're just suddenly getting somebody else playing it. So I think probably a cooling off period is a wise idea. Anyway, Rob, what do you think theoretically about the idea of going back and trying Indiana Jones again? The whole idea of them giving it a cooling off period. Right idea, bad idea, can it work? Is the age of the Indiana Jones kind of adventure movie not going to work for audiences anymore these days? I don't know. How do you see it?
Well, one, you could always do it. But to me, Indiana Jones was a very specific product of its time. George Lucas wanted to make a throwback to the old serials that he grew up with, the cliffhangers, kind of like the way he wanted to make a Flash Gordon serial and update it. And to me, Indiana Jones was the perfect product of the 80s. Raiders was 81, Temple of Doom was 84, and Last Crusade was 89. And that they literally began the 80s and it took us out of the 80s. And Temple of Doom was in the 80s. It's such a product of its time. And those movies take place in a pretty specific time, about 1935 to 1942, somewhere in there.
It's all pre-war, basically.
Yeah, it's all pre-war Nazi Germany. And I just think that nowadays, audiences, I think we need to look, you could make it. Absolutely. And will they probably do it? Yes. We saw the young Indiana Jones Chronicles with Sean Patrick Flannery, not the little kid ones, but they were good. The jazz episodes, the World War I episodes, they were good. There was a lot of good stuff in there. But I just think that some IP has a shelf life. And what are you going to do? They brought Indiana Jones forward into the 50s and into the 60s. I don't think it worked that well.
No, it clearly didn't,
because then he becomes less an adventurer, and now he's running around more modern cities. Then they had to throw him back in time in the next one, or in Dial of Destiny. And I would rather see new IP developed. But I'm not. They're going to do it. They're going to do it. They're going to try it and see if it works. I just don't know if audiences care anymore.
About Indiana Jones.
Yeah, about Indiana Jones. Because they did in the 80s, because we're 45 years removed from Raiders, or 44 years removed from Raiders. Raiders is almost half a century old.
Yeah.
It's like something in the 80s.
And so you're watching something that's almost half a century old that was an homage to something that was half a century old before it almost. And it's just, I think it's just certain things. We need to see new IP characters that reflect the 21st century.
Them doing a new Indiana Jones isn't going to stop anybody from doing new IP characters.
I think they're going to run into the same problems we saw both Spielberg and James Mangold run into. Is that what do you do if you go back and you set him back? It's even further back if you make him Nazis, because Nazis are great antagonists for him. But that means it goes back into a time. Kids aren't even reading history these days, and so it's like, how are you going to get people to get excited about that period again? Whereas Raiders was like the perfect movie. It was perfect.
It was so good.
I don't know. They're going to do it. I just don't. I think it's a harder nut to crack than they might think.
See, I think a couple things went into the failure of the last couple of ones. One of them being is that Indiana Jones had fundamentally changed in the sense that he was now a 78-year-old man running around the globe. And I think that became a difficult one for people to adjust to. The other one is it just simply wasn't that good of a movie.
Right.
It just simply wasn't that good of a movie. And that's a far cry from the original 3 Indiana Jones films that were great. I think if you can get a great star in this kind of a role, I think this could have the potential to still work and work very well. The problem, of course, is, what was one of your favorite movies this year? Companion, right? New original IPs being made all the time. Audiences don't necessarily go and support them, even if they're great. So I think you got to have a balance of the two.
I also think the biggest, hardest thing would be to find an actor who would stand.
Well, that's the trick, isn't it?
Harrison Ford.
That's, I mean,
And to quote Indiana
Han
Jones,
Solo.
that's the trick.
That's the trick, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's
That's the trick, is who, because I remember for a long time, everybody thought no brainer Chris Pratt. That's no longer in vogue. Then it kind of became Glenn Powell. Then it kind of, lately I've been seeing Lewis Pullman, Bill Pullman's kid, who is just in that's been one.
And
that's
wasn't
been
Bill
around.
Pullman in something like, wasn't he in like Coming At Ya or one of those, he in some adventure?
I can't remember. I just remember him in While You Were Sleeping.
He wasn't in Coming At Ya, but
He was so
something
good
like
in
that.
While You Were Sleeping.
Yeah.
Somebody in the live chat has just said Nathan Fillion. Yeah. 12 years ago?
Yeah.
If they had tried to do a reboot of this 12 years ago, Nathan Fillion could have been one of those guys, maybe. I see somebody else saying Jack Quaid. I don't see Jack Quaid as Indiana Jones.
I thought of that
love
too,
Jack
but I'm
Quaid.
like, nah.
There's a certain masculinity we're missing that Indiana Jones
Yeah, so
had.
a guy like a Glenn Powell or somebody like an unto that, I think would be pretty cool. Anyway, guys, question is for you. Ryan Gosling wouldn't be bad. What do you think about this? Apparently, Disney, according to reports that are going around, is very seriously, they're going to do more Indiana Jones films. But according to the reports, they're going to give it a cooling off period, which is probably very wise to do. I don't think they should rush out on the heels of the flop that was Dial of Destiny and say, we're doing another one, folks. Give it a couple of years. But I don't know, good idea, bad idea, at least worth giving a shot to. Anyway, whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. Hey guys, thanks so much for watching this video. Make sure you like the video, leave a comment, and subscribe to our channel. And don't forget, we have a daily podcast called the John Campea Show podcast, available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or your favorite podcasting app of choice. Go and subscribe to it today so it'll be there when you need it.